All right, so here we are in February of 2024 now, and we've got Deborah Razo with us tonight talking about flipping, which is awesome. And just want to do a very quick intro before we get into our talk. And we want to very anxious to hear about what she's going to say. So I am going to go ahead and share my screen and go over the disclaimer. There we go. All righty. So this is REIA, and Rick and I are actually the group leaders. We've been doing this for quite a few years now. I started with my first duplex in my 20s and been in real estate about 20 years, and Rick almost that too. And we opened our own brokerage about 10 years ago where we do sales and property management. We have investment properties in multiple states. We do short, mid, and long-term rentals. We have mostly long-term rentals in Virginia and midterm. And then we also manage properties for other people. So we would love to help you if you need them. And Rick, would you like to add anything to that?
Yeah, our passion project as of late has been short-term rentals. It's been consuming us quite a bit. We purchased a triplex in Fort Lauderdale, and so we've got that on the market, and just built a pool, and it is renting like hotcakes, but it's a totally different market. And
Yes.
that's what's great about this game called real estate is what you think is predictable, because we have other short-term rentals. It's not. This clientele seems to be younger, seems to be renting for shorter periods of time. Instead of a week, they're renting for 4 days, 5 days, 3 days. And it's just interesting to see the differences in the market, but it's keeping us on our toes. So yeah.
Definitely. So
Anyway, someday we'll do a case
now,
study on that.
right. Yeah, we actually probably should do like Gulf side versus Fort Lauderdale side. Now people are gearing up for spring break and such, and I keep getting the multiple, what is your minimum age? And I say 24. So,
Yeah, we're getting a lot of college kids. We never got that
yes,
on the
yes,
golf side.
and that is not what we're wanting. So thankfully it's booking up. We came on the market a little late in mid-December with the pool renovation, with adding the pool and everything. So the calendar was kind of, empty and not full until then because we didn't know what was going to happen. So now it is definitely filling. So, all right. Well, I'll go ahead and go to the next one. So the disclaimer here, the topics discussed are for general real estate educational purposes only. This is not investment advice. Rick and I are brokers, real estate brokers. I'm both Virginia and in Florida. But in this capacity, we are only giving educational. And so is Deborah. She's only here for education. So she as a speaker will not be held liable for your real estate investment decisions. So do your own research. Always, always, always seek individualized expert advice from an attorney, accountant, investment professional, or any other professional services. All right. So we are a member of National REIA, so we probably have the cheapest REIA around. If you would like those benefits, it's $70 a year. We do still give the recordings for free. We post them to YouTube. And also, if you are listening on YouTube, please remember to touch that like button and subscribe if you would like to get the content. Usually we do send content out weekly. So that will get you that. And if you do want to have the National REIA benefits, just give us a call, text, or email, and we're happy to set you up with that. Okay, so our upcoming speakers we have tonight, we do have Deborah Razo, and she's talking about how to rehab a house. And then we do have the in-person networking in Virginia at the Wegmans in Fredericksburg on the 22nd of February. Then in March, we're going to talk about the state of the real estate market. Brian Maddox does a really good job with statistics and with what's going on in the economy and things and how it relates to real estate. And so we're going to be talking about what's going on with that in the ever-changing world of that. Then in April, we have Tom and Michelle McPhee using whole life insurance as a financial tool. We've talked about that quite a while ago, so I thought we needed to bring that back in case people were interested. And then in May, we've got Wendy Sweet again. She's been with us over a couple of years ago, so we thought we'd have her come on again and talk about how to finance your deal in the new normal. Okay. So we are always looking for speakers. So if anyone has a suggestion, then go ahead and let us know. Okay, so live like nobody else lives now, so you can live like no one else lives later. Definitely. So I'm gonna stop sharing, and then Rick, can you go ahead and introduce our speaker tonight, Deborah?
Deborah, we are giving a warm welcome to Deborah because she's coming from California, warm California, although she's probably in the mountains right now, so it's not that warm, but it's warmer than Virginia, let's just say. I'm not sure. But Deborah is a seasoned entrepreneur. She has 3 decades of experience, and she discovered her financial freedom through real estate investing after owning and partnering in several small businesses. She is a graduate from UCLA, and she is thriving and living the rehab life. She loves flipping properties. And she's here as our resident expert to help us, coach us, give us some advice on the best way to make money in any market, and that's flipping. Like, how can you profit from this? How can you add value? So she's going to cover several different things. One is she's going to try to cover the steps to flipping, like how to secure the properties, how you run the numbers, manage the contractors, manage the risks, and also take us through a case study or 2 or 3 to show before and after. And she's already given us a taste of the after because she's painted that wall that green. So Deborah, without further ado, welcome to Fred REIA, and thank you so much for coming to talk to us.
Well, thank you for having me, Rick. Thank you for such a warm welcome, and thank you, Anna, for asking me to join you guys tonight. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, if that's okay. There we go. And I have titled this "Flipped Over Rehabbing" because that's what I've done. I've flipped over rehabbing. I'm a rehab addict, and I'm going to share with you some of my best practices and why I got into flipping and why I still flip right now. And also, I also invest in a variety of other things, and I'll tell you all about that. But what I want to say first is,
wow.
Real estate, sexy.
Wow.
When I was first thinking about delivering this talk, I was thinking about the different deals that I've done and why I got into this crazy business. Now, my brother is all about stocks. He's a day trader, and he wanted me to follow him in that game, and I just couldn't. I'm just not interested in watching a stock line, but get me on Zillow or Redfin and I'm there for hours. You guys pull up your chat. Is there anybody else there like me?
Oh, gosh.
Spend so much time on Zillow and Redfin. Well, that is one of the reasons that I like real estate, because it's sexy. But here's the other reason. 90% of millionaires become so through owning real estate. Yes, this is a great figure, and that's incredible sexy too. So we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about so much more. But let me introduce myself and tell you why I'm in this crazy real estate game. My name is Deborah Razo. I've been an entrepreneur for, 30 years. Can't believe it. I've had 4 different businesses, and I currently own and operate 2. I started real estate investing just over 14 years ago. Why? Why real estate? Well, you got to figure what's in it for you. What is real estate equal? Is it riches? And I'm not just talking about money. I'm talking, is it time rich that you're looking for? Is it energy rich you're looking for? In my opinion, better than money is freedom and living life on your own terms. So you see, a little over 14 years ago, I had the opportunity to start over. I don't know if anybody here is listening has ever had one of those opportunities. I was in a car accident, and some people experience maybe the death of a loved one or a divorce or something called COVID. I don't know, but you have an opportunity to start over. For me, a tire blew and the driver of the SUV lost control of the car. And we ended up in the dirt by the side of the road, and the rim of the tire dug into the ground. And so the car flipped, and it flipped driver's side first. So the passenger, me, got the impact of the accident. And I was eventually airvacked to a hospital where my head wound was stitched back together. And I was told I had a broken neck and they'd have to wait to operate. Some of the swelling needed to go down before I got my titanium brace. And it took me a little over a year to heal. And during that time, I had a lot of time to think. And I thought how short life was. And I asked myself if I was really living it the way I wanted to. Now, don't get me wrong, I didn't have a bad life, but was it really what I wanted? And I realized I had a business that wasn't running, that I wasn't running, but was running me, right? I had constructed my own job, really. And I wanted to change my life. And honestly, I didn't know how. I had heard the term passive income, and I decided that's what I wanted, but I wasn't sure how to get it. Now, I thought that if I got it, though, it would give me more time with my family, time to travel the world, time to really experience a lot of joy in my life. But honestly, I didn't know how to change. How do you get passive income, right? Now, my brother, who came out to care for me during that year, had done a bunch of Tony Robbins events. And he suggested that after I was healed from my accident, that if I was really interested in changing my life, that I should try to go to one of his events. Now, Tony Robbins, for anybody who doesn't know, is a high performance coach and wealth strategist. And I went to an event, and then I went to another event. I drank the Kool-Aid. That's all I can say. And I've worked for the Tony Robbins organization for a number of years now. I'm one of about 200 trainers that he flies out to events to travel world to help others transform their lives at the events. And it's been very wonderful experience for me. I continued, though, to educate in real estate. I got a mentor. That's one of the things I learned while studying at the Robbins organization, to accelerate your growth by getting mentors that have done what you want to do, right? And to surround yourself with the right peer group. I mean, Fred sounds like an amazing peer group to surround yourself with, right? People who have really done the business, who actually have firsthand experience of real estate investing. So I wanted to do that too. I wanted to surround myself. So now I started flipping, because I didn't have any money. I started flipping in Los Angeles, and I'll share a case study about that. And then I started reinvesting, because what did I want? I wanted passive income, right? So I started reinvesting the profits from my flips into single families. My first single family homes were in Memphis, Tennessee. I still have a small portfolio of homes in Memphis, Tennessee. Then I grew and started developing, so ground up development in Los Angeles, and then started multifamily investing. So I have multifamilies in Tucson, Arizona, and Houston, Texas. And then as my skills have grown, my investments have grown. Maybe like some of you out here, you have your hands in a variety of things. And even though my outcome was passive income, always has been, I'm a little addicted to rehabbing. I just love it. So I take on very special projects, but I still have my passive income. In fact, somebody mentioned Puerto Rico before this call, and I actually opened a bed and breakfast with some partners in Puerto Rico just this past October, and we're doing really well there. So it's just great. I love all aspects of real estate, but I love rehabbing. So a few years ago, my second company, I founded the Women's Real Estate Network, and it's a community where women in real estate can excel and empower each other. And I've been focusing my energy on that, inspiring other women, and also on my real estate business. Those are my two businesses. And I also, have energy in partnering with other investors who seek financial freedom through real estate. I love partnering. So let's get started now on some of the other information. I'm going to talk about mindset. And I'm also going to talk about the 3 steps to rehabbing. Yes, I broke it down to 3. We're going to go over a case study and talk about some risk tolerance, because there's a lot of risk involved in doing what we're doing. So the other thing that I want you to know is that I want engagement. We're all here together. So bring up your chat. If you haven't already turned on your video, turn it on. And I hope you're just willing to play full out with me. So let's talk mindset first. How do you create breakthrough? Like, I know so many people who say, yeah, I want to flip, but aren't able to step through that, right? So I want to talk about if any of you have ever had a great plan that you're really excited about and nothing ever came of it. Does anybody ever have that happen to them? Yeah, right? It's happened to all of us.
Of course.
Yeah, you have to deal with the inner conflict in your head. So if you want breakthrough, it's really within your reach. And I'm gonna give you a formula. So to create breakthrough in your life, we have to recognize the patterns that we run. Some of you also might call them moods, or maybe they're emotional or mental states. We have to look at our life in these components. A state is the first component. A story and a strategy are the next, right? A state is what makes up a state. A state is made up of your physiology, your focus, and your language. And I'll just give you a really quick, brief intro of what that is. If you see me sitting here like this, talking like that, kind of wondering what I'm doing, what would you call that state? You might call it sad or
Sad.
depressed. Yeah, right? Right. Whereas if you see me like this, you might think of it as a different state, right? Or if you see me like this, you might think that is a different state, right?
Aggressive.
So, right, focused, right? So we all have these different states and we all can manage our different states, right? So certainty is a state, right? What makes up a state of certainty for yourself? Because you might need a state of certainty to get into something that you're not accustomed to, right? And then story. What's your story? We all have stories, narratives that we tell ourselves about why we can or cannot achieve something in our lives. Whether we can, what is that quote? Whether we can or whether we can't, we're usually right, because it's our expectation or our story that controls our focus, our perceptions, and the way we feel and the way we act, right? Your story may be true. You may have been through a horrific experience, but that's not the reason why you can't have the life you want. For example, my story, right? I had an accident. My story could have been filled with fear, that I'm scared. The story was, life, but instead my story is life was short. Live it full out. Tell those that you love them all the time. Grab each day, right? So you can have a disempowering story or you can have an empowering story. Most people tell a story in a selective way, so they don't have to ever maximize their efforts towards a strategy because they're afraid they'll fail. And if somebody wants something strong enough, they'll break through that story that's limiting them. Suffering is what keeps you from succeeding. How beautiful is it that you don't have to do something perfect every time? Learn to enjoy the storm and be grateful for the part of you that has been hungry enough to find an answer, right? When a person succeeds, it's because they have the right strategy. And usually they've found it because they have a story that makes it possible, right? So you really have to look at what your story is. Strategies. I live for finding strategies. Seriously, those shortcuts that help people get more done in less time. What is it that lets some people succeed while other people seem to fail, but they seem to have equal enthusiasm or passion for the tasks at hand? Do they have different insights or distinctions or strategies that allow them to achieve something more quickly? For example, someone who's been born very poor without an education and had emotional and financial challenges, but found a way to be highly successful and living an inspired life. Now, I don't believe that's lucky. Luck is what you do for a day or a week. Strategies are what you make consistently happen in your life for decades. A strategy can be found in the simplest or the slightest distinction, and it can happen in an instant. So all three of these things, your state, your story, your strategy, create breakthrough in your life. And I just want to make sure that you have a little bit of mindset going into what we're going to talk about so that you can observe yourself. All right. So
Can I stop you there and just add some
absolutely.
commentary?
Yeah.
So we get, it's so interesting you talk about, a state and a story, because we get a lot of people that are coming to us and saying, hey, they want to get into real estate. They want to, they're just beginning. They may not even own real estate. They may be renting or they're living with their parents, but they're trying to figure out how to get from point A to point B. I bought my first home when I was 23, but I did not, I just bought it as an owner occupant. I didn't know um, all the costs associated with owning real estate. And I think a lot of people, they have to have, like, I'm very analytical because I went to college as an engineer. And so I was trained as an engineer. I'm a numbers guy. I'm also very risk adverse. So I want it to be 90%. But my wonderful spouse, Anna, she just needs to be 51% or 61%. And so a lot of times I'm saying, but what about this and what about that? It does help to have somebody who's, with you along the journey, helping you see things differently. And sometimes you're holding on for dear life, saying, closing your eyes, and but you get through the storm, like you said, Deborah, and it's like, oh, you remember that time we did this? We were just having those what if moments the other day. We were talking about climbing up and installing soundproofing between two units, and we had to climb up, and it was rock salt, and it was just, I just remember those stories. Yeah, those, and so anyway, the state, the story, and the strategy, I just love that message, because that's everything with
it is
happened.
everything. And I think that for anybody that's out there that might be trying something new, whether it's whether you're a seasoned investor and trying a new strategy, trying a new asset class, or whether you're just a beginning investor, there's hesitations, there's uncertainty,
reservations.
There's reservations, and the fact of the matter is that, as we go through things, we build our confidence muscles to actually understand, like I jokingly say, as an entrepreneur, my phone doesn't ring unless there's a problem at the other end. And it's true. Like when my phone is quiet, everything is fine, because no one ever calls me to tell me everything is fine. No one. my phone rings when there's an issue at the other end, and
Right.
I've become a creative problem solver. I know that whatever happens at the other end, but that has been over utilizing my confidence muscle again and again and again, and building that confidence.
Totally.
And that's, the state, the story, the strategy, it all goes into that. A lot of people might think, I can't afford real estate, right? And that's a story. That's a story, because there's so many different ways that people can get into real estate with little or no down, right? Yep. There's so many different ways, but you got to believe it first. You got to understand that that's a story you've been telling yourself in your head first.
Totally.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, so I said I was going to talk about flipping, and all I've talked about is, mindset. So here we go. All right, I'm going to talk about, I'm going to break down rehabbing into 3 steps. That's crazy, but I am. I'm going to talk about the purchase, which is like finding deals, ARV, financing, running numbers. Now, I'm not going to be able to cover all of that in the 3 steps. So I'm going to pick one thing out of each of the 3 steps to kind of concentrate on. And I think it's going to add value to your, arsenal of knowledge. The second step is rehabbing, right? Scope of work, contracts, permits, rehab budgets. I'm going to talk about that. And the third step is sale. So there's really only 3 steps in rehabbing: purchase, rehab, and sale. So I'm going to focus on one component in each category. So let's go on. Oh my goodness. Let's go on and talk about the first step, which is purchase, right? So I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to concentrate on running the numbers, because I think that's like kind of a mystery to a lot of people. And I'm going to walk you through a simple one-sheet calculator that'll help you to understand more about how to see the boundary of numbers. And after that, if you want, I can put that sheet in the chat or hand it off to Anna so that you guys can have it. So I'm going to stop sharing my slides and I'm going to go ahead and share that one sheet. So 1 second here.
So when you're looking at an area, Deborah, are you concentrating on a certain zip code and a certain property type? Or do you open it up like different cities, different locations?
Yeah.
Is that what you're going to get into, or
Great
is that
question. No, I'm actually going to get into the spreadsheets. You'll
the
like this
spreadsheet?
one.
Okay. Yeah, I love that stuff.
I'm actually going to start with a really simple spreadsheet, and then I'm going to show you a more complex
Okay.
spreadsheet, because I want it to start simple for people. And just to answer your question though, when I first started rehabbing, I dedicated myself to a particular area and and like, like a a buy block, right? I wanted 3 2s in a certain area with certain, criteria. As I've become more confident, I've done more flips, then, I operate a little wider. Yes.
Gotcha. Without fear.
Well, there's still fear, but I still do it. All right, so this is just a really simple one sheet calculator, and I'm just going to try to fit this whole thing in right now. And I just want to walk it through so that you can, really simply see. So, and for somebody who might not be more spreadsheet oriented, this is a really easy way to just go through something simply. So, I put the property address in, I put the purchase price in, that's what it is I need to purchase it at. And we'll talk about how you get to that. I put rehab costs, and I'm just going to give you a rough estimate. I put a note down here about costs have gone up, and these are LA costs. Please know that might not apply to wherever it is you're in. If it's a light rehab, it's $45 a square foot. If it's a medium rehab, it's $60 a square foot. And if it's a heavy rehab, I estimate like $75 a square foot. So, this is just an estimate. Obviously, if you get more involved or you get under contract, then you need to walk the property with a contractor, or if you don't have that ability to estimate things out yourself. So this is basically line 3 is total cost. That's basically purchase price with your rehab costs. Now you're going to want to have 25% down. Once again, this could be a different percentage depending on the hard money lender that you use. For those of you that aren't familiar with the phrase hard money lender, there are lenders out there. They're usually local to the area that do short-term lending. So they, the loans that you get for them are less than a year most of the time, and the interest rates are higher than what you're going to pay on a conventional loan. But usually they'll want 20 to 25% down depending on the project. So the loan amount, that's just the other 75%. I've added 2% of the loan amount for your loan costs and your title escrow. And then with that, you get your down payment plus your loan costs. That's the initial capital that you need in to actually purchase the property, right? So it's got kind of all the costs that you need in your purchase escrow and your rehab costs. And then you can figure out your sale escrow. So this is your projected sales price, or your ARV after repaired value, right? Your escrow costs again, because you're going to have escrow costs again on the other side. I've projected about 1% of your sales price. Real estate commissions can be either 5 or 6%, depending on what kind of real estate agent you have, or if you have your own license, then know that you'll get a portion of that back and obviously give a portion to your broker, right? Your mortgage payments. Now, I've estimated 4% because I try to get my flips done in about 4 months, and that's like 1% a month. But if it's going to take you longer, if it's a more extensive flip, you need to vary that. Taxes and insurance, you can always get an estimate of what your taxes and your insurance are going to be before you close. So you need to fill in, once again, a 4-month average for your taxes and insurance. If there's any lender points, if your hard money loan has lender points on it, then you need to factor those in. Loan amount, you just see the number above. Initial capital, see the number above, and total costs. So now you've gotten your total costs, and you'll get your net profit by taking the sales price minus the total costs. And then I've put a couple other formulas down here in case you want to run a cash on cash return or cash on cash return with a 4-month limit on it. So I wanted to do this way because I wanted to make it simple. I don't, like for somebody who might be, afraid of spreadsheets, you can do this with paper and pencil, right? Now, this is just a simple calculator. And I suggest that once you are getting more finite, maybe you've gotten into a contract, right? You might be going through escrow, then you work out more detailed numbers, definitely get more detailed on your rehab costs. You definitely get more detailed on all your lender costs and your lender points. But I wanted to be able to give something to you guys today just to work it out for somebody who has not ever gone through a rehab.
Very helpful. Thank you.
There you go. Thank you.
Yes, it's great.
Okay, and I will get that to you, Anna, okay?
Okay. Yeah, if you get that to me, I'll send it out with the recording to the group.
Great. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to sharing my other screen, and we're gonna go back to this. Oh, whoopsie. Okay, so we're still talking about running numbers. Oh, okay. And there we go. So this is the calculator that I just went over to you, the very simple calculator that I went over with you. I have a more advanced Excel calculator that I can make available to you. I'll actually, I'll give you the link for that, Anna, and it's free. And basically though, it comes with me as a video giving like a 15-minute explanation of how to utilize the calculator. I've made the calculator so that everything that's in red are the variables that you need to put in. Everything else is automatically calculated. And then I've explained to you, like, using the purchase price, the worst case and best case scenarios, right? Because you were never exact on ARV and how to figure that out. So, sometimes we think this could be the low ARV and this could be the high ARV. And then, we need to calculate out what our potential profits are for that. So I will hand that off to you, Anna, so that you can distribute that.
Sounds great.
It's at my reflipcalculator.com. And basically it's a 20-minute video, and then you download the Excel spreadsheet at the end of that. Okay, so that's how to use the calculator. The other thing I want to talk to you about is finding deals, right? So now, finding deals, you can prospect in all kinds of ways. Obviously, you through your network, right? Through REIA, you can actually work with other people. If there's wholesalers in the network, you work with them. If there's other people, maybe there's no people that are actually looking for rehabbers to, pass a deal off to. The MLS, right? You can find things on the MLS. Working with agents, I think it's great to work with agents, but you need to train agents as to what you're looking for and help them to understand the spread that you need. Like, nobody wants to waste anybody's time, but you need to help them do that. And then people, like, tell everybody you know. Like, tell everybody you know. Right? The flip I'm sitting in right now is a referral. The last flip I did was a referral, right? I mean, these are referrals. Like, people know what I do. I tell them if you ever come upon somebody who's in a situation where they might not be able to sell the house because it's in such bad states that it won't qualify for a conventional loan, call me. Right? Call me, because that's what I do. I help people out of those situations, right?
Right.
So tell everybody The other side is making offers. Here's, the one rule of real estate. If you don't make any offers, you don't get any. That's it. It's finite. So you need to make offers, right? So you need to, oh, that's finding deals. You need to make offers. So, I'm not going to go in detail over a purchase agreement, but you need a standard contract. Make sure you contact your attorney about that. If you're using an agent, you want to use the agent's offers, that's standard for that state. This is relevant terms: buyer, purchase price, earnest money deposits, the consideration, the escrow, the title, the financing, the contingencies, the reports, right? So those are all in the standard purchase agreement. So you need to make offers to be able to, purchase money. And then the funding. All right, so I talked about hard money funding, and that's short term. There's obviously conventional funding. So if you think the flip is going to be a long flip, or some people actually buy a house thinking I'm going to flip it while I'm living in it, right? So you're going to want a conventional loan for that, so that you're not paying those high interest rates. There's also private money. For those of you that are more or more interested in getting private loans from private investors, there's that kind of money out there. There's lots of money. There's lots of money out there, and there's lots of different loans. And I think what a lot of people don't understand is that every agent that is a broker for a certain agency has a different package of loans available. So you really have to shop for different loans for what it is that you need. So, the fundamental documents in financing are promissory notes and deeds of trust, so that you know that you're going to need promissory notes and deeds of trust when you purchase a property. Okay, so step 2, rehab, and then I'm going to go over 3 things: that's scope of work, contractors, and rehab budget. And I'm going to concentrate on scope of work, because I think that's really, really important. And I think a lot of people don't understand how important it is. So a scope of work lists repairs and everything that you want done to that property. And most of the time when I do scope of work, and I'm going to show you an example, most of the time when I do a scope of work, I do it room by room by room by room, outside, roof. I do everything. Now, why do I do that? Well, I'll tell you why. Because when you get with a contractor and you walk a property, that contractor is going to have an opinion about what you should be doing. Oh, well, you should do that over there, or you should do this over here, right? That contractor can have his own opinion. When I give a contractor scope of work, contractor A gets the same scope of work that contractor B gets, and then B gets the same scope of work that contractor C gets. Now, when I'm getting my bids back in, I'm comparing apples to apples. In fact, I mentioned to you that I'm at a property that I just closed on. I'm doing a rehab, and I met with 2 contractors today, and one of the contractors made a suggestion. Oh, when you knock that wall down and we build a wall, we should probably build double frame it for sound insulation. And I said, oh, that's a great idea. And it is a great idea, but it's not on my scope of work. And I said, how about this? Let's table that idea, but when you give me your bid, let's only build it for one wall. Why is that? Because I'm giving every contractor the same scope of work. If this contractor builds it out differently than that contractor, then how am I supposed to compare them?
Right.
So you've got to be really detailed, and you've got to know what you're doing. So I'm going to show you a scope of work, because I think people skip over this process, and you've got to know, like, it's a very important piece. So let me share my screen again. Here is a scope of work. So here is, things that I want done to the entire house: scrape off the acoustic ceiling, remove wallpaper, paint all the walls, ceilings, doors, and moldings. You see all like some general things, right? Install new baseboards, put decorous switches in, right? These are all general things I want done to the entire house. Now, here are additional instructions for each room. Well, in this room, I want you to move the wall from the dining to the kitchen. I want to install 2 plugs over the new base cabinets in the dining room, right? I'm getting pretty detailed. Replace the wall heater and thermostat. I'm getting very detailed. Now I'm going to the kitchen and I'm getting very detailed in the kitchen. You see how this is going? Entry and staircase, right? Bedroom 1, bedroom 2, bathroom, garage, exterior, the deck, the driveway, right?
Mhm.
Okay, now here's the best part too. Price to exclude. The owner is going to buy these things, the permits. I'm going to do the landscaping and I'm going to do the initial demo. I'm going to buy all the appliances. I'm going to buy the decorative lighting. I'm going to buy the curtain rods and window treatments. Price to include contractor to buy that, right? The contractor is going to be responsible for all this. I want it all detailed out, right? I
Right.
want it all detailed out. They need to know what they're paying for, what they're doing. And then here it is, additional requirements. Haul out the debris nightly, leave the house neat and clean, nothing left outside in front of the house overnight, no complaints from the neighbors, right? I don't accommodate our special office needs. Now, I try to install an office in every rehab that I'm in, just so usually it could be a door that's over a couple pieces of wood so that I have like a desk area, right?
Oh, okay.
Where I'll keep the plans, it's where I'll keep that. So I want them to accommodate that. Also, be on site at least once a day until finished, right? You're setting your expectations for that contractor. And that's what the scope of work. Now, owners still to choose. Now, these are on the contractor's buy list, but I want to have choice over them. How does that work, Deborah? Well, owners still to choose the door style. Okay, so basically what I'll say, once we get to that point, I'll say, Mr. Contractor, where do you want me to buy my door? What choices do I have on the door style that's in your budget? And he'll say, well, Deborah, I want you to go look at door A, B, and C at this place, or he'll have a picture for me. And I'll say, I want B, right? But it's out of his budget, but we're still working together, right? Now, if I decide, oh, I don't like A, B, or C, I want D, and he'll say, that's out of the budget, I'll say, how much? And then we'll renegotiate, right?
Got it.
But I want the contractor to know, like, I want my good garage door style, right? White roll up with windows, no grids, and an auto opener. All right, well, then I decide I want an upgraded garage door, right? That's on me, but the base was in his budget, right? So you're basically in this scope of work, you're laying everything out for the contractor so that he really knows what it is he's bidding on. And that way you have the opportunity to compare contractor to contractor. And that way you're comparing oranges to oranges, right? So that is really important to me when you're flipping, so that you have that comparison done correctly.
Deborah, you've been doing this for a while, so you know what you're looking for, and I'm sure the money, the private money lenders that you're using, that they trust you. You're not sharing that with them, right? There's no need to share any of that stuff with them, but you have a plan, a budget, and a plan, and that's what they want to know. But
so different hard money lenders lend differently. So some hard money lenders, and the ones that I use because I have experience now, will lend to me and I'll just do the rehab work and they don't have anything else to do with me, right? Like as long as I'm making the payments, they'll make a call sometimes, be like, how's it going? I'm like, it's fine. You want a picture? That's it. Sometimes if you're newer at rehabbing, they'll want to have more control over the budgets and everything. And they'll actually offer to finance the rehab. But know that if they offer to finance the rehab, you're also letting them into your process. So most of the time, what they do is very similar to a building loan, a construction loan. And they'll say, okay, Deborah, go do your demo work. And then you say, I've done my demo work and you've paid for your demo work. And then they'll go, okay, we'll reimburse you the demo amount. And then they'll say, okay, Deborah, do your, your rough electrical and plumbing. And then I say, I've done my rough electrical and plumbing. And then they'll reimburse me the rough electrical and plumbing amount. It's a little more of a tedious process, but most
Yeah, it
lenders,
is.
are pretty good about getting an inspector out really quickly and releasing the money quickly too, because they know you have to continue on in the job.
Right.
But there are some lenders that do that. So really ask those questions up front when you're looking for your financing.
Gotcha. Interesting.
Okay, so there we went through the scope of work. Okay, what's the other? Keeping track of money, keeping track. And I'm going to tell you, I still do it on a spreadsheet. Now I've got a business and it's all, I've got QuickBooks, but it's really hard for me. Okay, it's easier for me for my one project to have one spreadsheet. That's just easier for me. And I usually have an estimates column and an actual column, right? Because, I can estimate things and I can get, an idea of what kitchen cabinets are going to cost me, but then when they actually come in, I want the actual hard costs. And I just keep this running spreadsheet every time I spend any money. It's really important as a rehabber to stay within your rehab budget, because if you don't get profit, people. And that's not the point. Right?
Now, do you have
So,
help, Deborah? Do you have additional resources, VAs, or anybody that helps you with keeping all this money straight, or do you do it yourself?
Well, it depends on the project. I'll just say it that way. Most projects that I handle directly, I keep my own Excel spreadsheet, but I do have an agency that I outsource all my bookkeeping to. And I do have a CFO that works for me now. He's my husband, actually.
Love it.
But he takes care of a lot of that stuff. But I'm still running the jobs and I'm still running the budget that's on site. And so I still keep track of the spreadsheet.
Okay.
For some of the bigger jobs, obviously there's a lot more people involved. The bed and breakfast and the apartments, there's a lot of people involved in that.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
But for this is how I run it. Okay, so let's talk about getting the work done. You can hire a contractor or you can self-manage a project, right? I've done both, and it really depends on the project itself about what I do. I'll give you an example. I'm at a project right now, and it's got a 2-bedroom, 2-bath cottage, and it's got a duplex that are 1-1s. The duplex needs a lot of work, and the project is not convenient for me to get to. So I'm going to try to hire a contractor for the duplex, because it'll be easier for him to manage the project because there's a lot of work that needs to be done. For the cottage, there's not as much work that needs to be done, and I'm going to self-manage the project because it'll be easier for me. Now, sometimes those decisions are made differently. I just finished a project last year where the rehab budget was a little skinnier, and I couldn't really afford the contractor to manage the project. And so I self-managed it. Now, when I self-manage things, it's more labor intensive for me. And I always get licensed electricians and plumbers. That's my standard. I'm not going to cheapen on that. I've found it to be worse in the long run for me if I don't get licensed plumbers and electricians. And I'm really clear about, handling people and who's picking material, and, I always get licensed roofers too. That's on here. So you can handle a project yourself. There's no problem in that. Just know that there's going to be more time involved for you, more labor intensive. With hiring a contractor, make sure you check his license status, get a copy or review his license with the state, get their insurance, their liabilities and worker comp insurance, and then make your payment milestones in your contract with your contractor. You really need to make it clear what the timeline is and what the commitments are from any contractor that's going to work on your job. And you also need to make sure that you have some retention money at the end. And what I mean by that is that that contractor should not be getting his final payment until he's done all the work and you have had your final walkthrough. I usually retain at least 10, sometimes 15% of what the entire bid is until after I've had the final walkthrough. It's just a better way of keeping everything clean and everybody up front. I'll just put it that way.
And making sure things get done at the very end. A lot of the time at the end, it's
things get done at
yeah.
the end.
Even getting the city to sign off on it, holding back a little bit, just waiting, because until they sign off on it, it's not done. So
yes, absolutely. And now I'll share with you a little tidbit. I call it the contractor trifecta, right? You're either going to have fast and great quality, but not a great price. So like you pick two, basically. You're going to have great quality and a great price, but it's going to be really slow. You're going to have fast and great price, but it's not going to be great quality, right? And this is what I call the contractor trifecta. Like, know what you're getting into. That's what I want to say. I've rarely met a contractor that's great at all three of these things. So, you just got to roll with it. You got to know what you're getting into and do the best you can with who you've got, So, that's my little tip.
Good suggestion.
Okay, we're on to rehabbing step 3. So step 3 is the sale of the property. So there's 3 components involved in that. One is agent screening, the right agent for the right deal, negotiation, and then pay everybody and cash the check. So in this portion, I'm gonna concentrate on agent screening, the right agent for the right deal. Excuse me a second. So what do I mean by the right agent for the right deal? You need to find the right agent to sell your property. And for those of you that have your license, sometimes that can be you, and sometimes it's not. I have my license. I didn't get my license until I had been flipping for 10 years or so, like 9 or 10 years. And the reason I got my license is that my accountant made me aware that I was leaving a lot of money on the table. But and the truth is, since I've gotten my license, I am very conscious of when I sell it and when I don't. I'm not an expert in every market. I know that. And I want an expert in the market to sell it. Why? Because they know what's going on in the market. A good agent is going to be able to close that deal for you. And when you're flipping, you want to get out as quick as you get in.
As possible. Yes.
So I'm going to just show you a little method that I use. And, put this in your arsenal of tips. You just go to Zillow. Let's see. Let me go to Zillow and then I'll share my screen. And you go to Agent Finder, okay? Many people probably haven't even seen this little tab up here. Top of Zillow, you go to Agent Finder, all right? So you go to Agent Finder and then look, see, I was looking for real estate. So Rick, give me a location.
Fredericksburg, Virginia. No, that's a bad one because that's where we are. But yeah, go ahead. If you want to do that one, that's fine.
Fredericksburg, VA.
Yeah. It's at
Fredericksburg. That's a hard one. Maybe do Fort Lauderdale. That's easier.
Yeah, sorry.
But that's okay.
Fredericksburg is kind of hard to spell.
Sorry. Okay.
There we go.
We're in Fort Lauderdale. And I'm just gonna make an assumption that you guys have a property that you just flipped and you want to sell it. You're at that point, right?
Okay.
So you want to sell it. So I've just looked up agents, right? Now, what you're going to get is a list of agents in this area. Okay, so I'm looking at Tyler and the MPH group team and Lori, right? Okay, so what you can do is you can just look. I'm going to look at Lori. Okay, I'm going to look at Lori and I'm going to see. So she's a top 1% Zillow agent. Look at all the listings she has. Dang, look at all the listings. For sales. Okay, she's all over the place in sales. She's got something for 100,000, something for 850,000. Okay, so I'm not sure because, you know, and then and the 850s are all in the same place. So if my property is near Plantation, Florida, and it's being sold for 875,
Right.
it might be somebody I want to talk to, right? Because it
Okay.
looks like she's connected there and she's doing that, right? She's got some rents. Okay, now this is important. Solds. Look, she's already closed deals this year. Look at how many deals she's already closed this year. She's a closer, right? She might
And
be
that's what you
somebody.
want
Yeah,
for a
that's what you
flipper.
want. You want a closer. Exactly. So she might be somebody I want to take a look at. All right, so I'm going to just go down because we want to get some contrast here. I don't know what Steve Gray is doing, but okay, we're going to look at Steve Gray and some of his listings. Now they're all in Fort Lauderdale. They're all in the $300,000 to $400,000 range. If that's what I'm going to be listing, that might be a guy that I want to look at, right? All right, I've got some solds. I've got 1, 2 this year sold. Okay, he's active, right? He's consistent. He's got more in December that he sold. All right, because once again, I want a closer. I want somebody who's selling. I want somebody who's got a system and a process. So do you see how this might help you to determine the right person for your project to do the same? So I like to give people that little piece of advice and little trick to use to help you flush out what agent that you really need to help you sell your project quickly. And once again, you know, I mean, obviously you need to know what your project is and how much you're going for and all that kind of stuff. And then you need to find the right agent because obviously there's frequently agents that are working a certain area. And so they have a population of people that come to them for that area. So it's really great to have an agent that's used to that area and also used to closing, right? Because you want a closer.
Now, do you stage or do you look for somebody who's going to stage your properties, or do you not necessarily do that?
Yeah. I actually really evaluate the area and what's being done. And I'm often asked that about finishes too, right? Like, oh, how are you doing finishes? Well, once again, it's very local to how it's being done. If I'm doing a you know, if I've done something in a retirement community versus I've done something in a college community, they're going to be different finishes, and I'm going to evaluate if it's being staged or not. And I've done everything from full staging to partial staging. And by partial staging, I mean I've done like the community rooms, and I might a little bit in the bedrooms, but I don't do much, right?
But so, mostly the community, family room or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe even a kitchen table.
Yeah. Right. So that's all about how to find the right agent for your project. Sometimes you can represent yourself. I went into this, I'm with EXP, and we can do that. So we're finally at case study. Do we have enough time, Anna? I don't know what the time.
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, please keep going.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
Okay, great. So I'm going to talk about, I'm going to give you a case study now. Hold on just a second. I gotta bring up.
This is definitely the before picture.
This is definitely the before picture. Right. Okay. So I know I've gone through a lot right now. So, you know, shake yourself out of bed. I'm going to shake myself out of bed. And I don't know if you are like me. I love case studies a lot because I like the before and after pictures. What you need to know about this project is I met a woman, her name is Kim, and I met her, I host cash flow games. I don't know if anybody's ever played cash flow, the board game. I am a huge supporter.
Yes.
I am a huge supporter of cash flow game. I think it's a great opportunity for people to simulate investing and learn.
Mhm. I
So
love it.
yeah, if you haven't
So,
played,
Deborah, I want to say one thing that's really
Yeah.
funny because I don't want other people to get about it. So when Rick and I first started playing that game, and it was a while ago now, so I don't completely remember, but we couldn't get that far into it because we were doing something with the mortgage calculation. Like we didn't know that everything was already included. So we were like adding the interest and we were doing this or whatever. And so we like couldn't get ahead because we were like paying all this money. We're like, what is going on? And then I reread the directions again.
Right.
You got to read the directions, babe.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a confusing game to get started.
It's a
is.
fun
Like,
game.
It's a
It's
fun
very
game
fun.
though, and I really suggest, look and meet up, see if anybody's running one in your area and go, because I think it's better when it's hosted because the host can guide you through and answer questions and stuff. And then you get a better experience if it's your first time doing anything like that.
So wait, they do that online or is it a meet in person type of thing?
Meet in person thing.
Okay, great. Because
I've heard of some people doing things online, but
yeah, I would be very hard to do that online. That's why I was asking.
Yeah, go in person and
it's amazing. It's a great game.
It's a fabulous game. And I'll tell you the hardest game that I've ever played is we brought our own balance sheets. And then we had to play those numbers, which was just really like, ooh, because you're emotionally attached to them. It's really funny. It's the funniest game is like, you go in and you're given an occupation and you're given a balance sheet.
I don't want to be a doctor.
and it's funny, the strong emotions you have
right.
all of it, and it's play money,
right? Oh, it's fun.
Yeah, it is totally fun. Okay, so this is a house that I flipped. I met a woman and she came to my cash flow game, and her father had just passed away and she was left his house. It's a 2-bedroom, 1 bath in a place called Cambria here in California. And her dad was what I'll call a collector, i.e. the house was filled to the brim and she didn't know what to do with it. And honestly, she didn't have the emotional capacity to go through it all herself. Sure. So I asked her, how can I help? And she realized she didn't want to clean it up. And she was wondering if I could either help her wholesale it or if I could flip it herself. And I went to look at it. And actually, it was at a great location. Let's see if I have. There it is. He was a collector.
Wow.
It was at a great location. It was only 2 blocks from the beach. But it was pretty far away from me. It was like a 3-hour drive away from me. So I started seeking partners because I thought maybe I could partner with somebody who we could tag team each other. Like she could go up a little bit and I could go up a little bit and then hand off to each other. So neither one of us would have to spend the whole time there. And that's what I did. I found a partner that would do that to me. And then I started trying to figure out how the numbers would work. And I asked him, do you need the money right away? And she said no. And I said, would you mind seller financing for me? And she said yes. And to be honest with you, the way the numbers worked, if I had given her the cash, just all out cash, sale with my hard money lender, she would have gotten a certain amount. But with her seller financing, she was getting that amount plus the interest payments. So she was actually ending up a little ahead. So I think I offered her, let's see. Oh yeah, I could see the beach. See, I was like,
oh, there it is.
Through all that stuff, I could see the beach.
Awesome.
So I offered her $400,000 at a 5% interest rate. So I made payments of about $1,666 dollars a month. The earnest money was only $100. It was a simple standard contract that I use. And I presented it to her and I put her in touch with an accountant because we needed to deal with the inheritance taxes and how the property need to be evaluated after her father's passing so that she wouldn't have to get the step up in capital gains and such. So I put her in touch with a an accountant that would handle all that for her. And then I realized I was going to need rehab money, and I was going to need about 80,000 on that project. So I started asking. I asked a private money lender, and I mean they come in all shapes and forms. I'm actually one. I lend to some of my flipper friends, and we have some you know people who are around you that might be able want to make interest off of their money sitting there. I pay anywhere from 10 to 12% depending on the project, and it's all reinforced with a promissory note and a deed of trust. So I found somebody who was willing to do second position and lend me the $80,000. And this is the after.
Wow,
Nicer, doesn't
beautiful.
it?
How long did it take?
This took about 5 months, I think, after when it was finally sold. It took about 5 months.
Beautiful.
And I will tell you,
Yeah.
we didn't have a lot of money left over for staging. And I found an agent in that market that was great. And he actually contributed some of the
Looks fantastic.
contributed some of the stuff for staging. So there's a kitchen, there's the bathroom, obviously cleaned it all up. Oh, and this is another thing. And I try to give back whenever I can to the community that I'm in. The person who had this house in their garage, they were kind of I don't know, they were waiting for the end of the world, and they had tons of dry dehydrated milk, dehydrated eggs, dehydrated bacon, like barrels and barrels of all of this type food, really, right, to last them. And I didn't know what to do with it. And then I called a local food bank and I said, do you guys have any interest in it? And they were like, yeah, we'll take it all. So they were able to take all these goods and repurpose them into the local community. So it worked out really well.
So
And
cool.
then we made a really nice place. So here are the numbers. The purchase price was 400. The rehab was 80, and the whole thing sold for about 640. So after our 2 closing costs, the 2 escrows, and the holding costs, we cleared about 88,000, which was about 44,000 each. So yeah, that's how that.
Very nice. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, do you ever partner with the seller? Have you ever done that? Or is it just not enough meat on the bone usually in this tight inventory market to do that kind of thing?
Yeah, you know what? I have friends that have done that. I have not done that.
Okay.
It's just really, you have to be really clear with the seller where their money ends and your money begins. I'll just say it that way.
Right. That's a great point. Yeah.
Most sellers feel like they have so much of money available to them, right?
Right.
So
and if you have too many cooks in the kitchen, then it becomes clouded in terms of decision making and things like that too.
Yeah, so I would say that I've joint ventured with a lot of people, and I have a joint venture agreement which actually really outlines who's in charge of what. And if there's a dispute, who breaks the tie, I really want it spelled out, like, am I picking colors? Or are you picking colors? Or am I picking this? Are you picking that? Are you doing this? Are you doing that? It's really, I've found it best in partnering to just outline the stuff ahead of time. It's your corporate prenup, right? When you partner in corporation, you're really married in corporation. And when you're doing a project, you learn all the idiosyncrasies that the other person has about money, and they learn all the idiosyncrasies you have about money. It's a telling time, and you just want that, you want to, lay things out. Yeah.
I'm sure it depends on the lender, but do you put these, would you buy them in an LLC? Is that what you typically do? And then okay.
For my flipping projects, I have an S corp that I don't hold more than 3 at a time in, just because that's how I was taught. Right. And then for my buy and holds, most of the time they're in their own corporation, depending on the size of the project.
I see. Yeah. Yeah, we were doing three at a time, and then we felt like there was just too much assets in one LLC. So then we started, then we put them in each of their own individual LLCs, and then we got away from because we were having so many LLCs. Oh my gosh, keeping
Well,
the
and the cost of all the LLCs and the cost of
the
all the
cost,
firms
it
for the
just was
LLCs,
killer.
it
And the
gets
taxes
crazy,
for each
right?
of them.
And the taxes, yeah. So
I
then we
will
went into
tell you
trust.
though, I always separate out the LLCs when I'm building ground up. There's
Oh,
just too many liabilities when you're building ground up that you want to have it all separated. You know, you want to have those corporations separated.
gotcha. Interesting.
Yeah.
So do you try to do so many a year? I mean, I know it's your baby, and letting go of your baby, selling your baby, that's got to be so hard sometimes. At least for me, I can't sell any of my babies. Anna wants to sell them. I don't want to sell any of them.
Yeah. I think I've continued flipping because I really love the process of taking something that people have maybe discarded and not
Right.
looked very beautiful way and making it really beautiful and usable again. Like I really love that process. So I don't have a problem selling after I'm done. I feel like,
The
yay,
joy you're giving to the next person,
I've walked
the
away
next
and given them.
family.
I had a flip that I did last year and it was a 2-bedroom, 1 bath, and it was a kind of a starter home. I'll just say it that way. And most of the time I'm not the person that gives over the keys, right? It's usually the agent, but the agent there was a conflict and I ended up giving the keys to the new owner. And it was just such a beautiful heart thing for me because he was telling me, he was like, oh, my wife and my daughter can't wait to move into this place. This is our first house and we're so excited. And I left there just feeling so full. And it's
Hmm.
like, oh, these people are making this place their home and it's so cool. And they have all these ideas about what they want to do. And, you know, and it was just really beautiful. So
Heartwarming. Yeah.
yeah, I don't really have a problem, you know, selling those. I have a problem selling my cash flowing things. Yes, I'm keeping those babies.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
And now you ask about how many I've done, and I've done a lot, and I'm at a point now in my real estate career where I don't have to do a lot. And so I just, you know, I'm lucky. I'm really blessed. I'm cherry picking what I do now and how I'm spending my time because I still love it. And like
Right.
I've got a project right now that I'm so excited about, but I'm not taking every project that comes my way. So, you know, it's a little different now for me, you know.
Right. No,
I'm
I get it.
starting to.
Because I'm kind of in that same mode. For Anna and I, we're in the giving back. You know, this is the way we give back. You know, we've done very well in real estate, and it's, you know, we could retire. We're not ready to retire, but we could retire if we wanted to. There's going to be enough cash flow coming in, and but we want to help others, just like you. We want to help others and
Right. And I mean, I
give
can
back.
retire and do what?
Right, right. We love this stuff. This is too much fun.
I have grown kids. They don't want me around.
That's exactly right. It's our passion, you know.
It's our
Yeah,
passion. Yeah,
me
yeah,
too. Me too. You know, and I love sharing that passion with other people that are passionate. I love being able to show them what's possible and that it is possible for them because I was one of those people that didn't think it was possible for me. Right.
hmm,
And people showed me the way. And I'm like, I love to pass that on. Right. So
right. Totally. Awesome. Well, thank you. This has been awesome.
thank you.
Let's see. Can we open it up to the group, or did you have some other things you wanted to share, Deborah?
You know, the only thing I wanted to share, hold on, let me just share my screen really quick, is that yeah, my contact information. If anybody is interested in contacting me, this is my cell phone number. And you know, you can take a picture of it, whatever you want to do. This is my email address. I have a website, deborahrazo.com. And if you are a woman out there and you want to surround yourself with other women real estate investors, check us out at reninspires.com. We're a group of women real estate investors who is forming a community, and it's really fun to be around other women because women are collaborative and creative, and I don't know, it's great.
It's
Anyway.
funny you bring this up because I'm a woman fan.
Yay!
I got a great woman in my life.
You're a woman
But
supporter.
So we're going on an investor, it's called the Investor Addict Cruise.
Oh, I've heard of that.
And it's coming this Sunday. We're going to be gone for a week in the Caribbean. We've been many times, but what's great about this is it's like-minded investors like yourself. And I studied the schedule, and I thought there were mostly men talking. Now I could have misjudged their names. Maybe a Morgan is a woman and not a man. So forgive me, but it looked like there were too many men speaking, is what I thought to myself when I saw the list of speakers. But they have at least like a dozen or so speakers, so I'm hoping it's balanced.
Well, and it's, being in a group of women investors is no different than being in a group of men investors. I think that I'll tell a little story if you don't mind.
Not at all.
I was a flipper in LA, and I had already started the Women's Real Estate Network, and we had a chapter up in Seattle. And I went up to visit the chapter, and we had a woman developer speak. And I was just in awe, and I went up to her afterwards and I said, wow, you're a woman developer. That's incredible. And she said, well, you're a flipper, right? And I said, yeah. And she goes, I used to be a flipper. Developing is so much easier. And I was like, what? And we proceeded to have a conversation, and she was telling me, it's a lot on the front end, and you got to get a lot of stuff done, and details at building and blah, 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 blah. But once you start building, it's ground up, and it's really, much easier than solving the problems that you solve when you're flipping, right? And the fact of the matter is, the only developers I had ever talked to were men. I don't know why, but I never included myself in that group. But once I met a woman, I was like, oh, I could do that too, right? Like I didn't just see it as a possibility for myself, just because I hadn't met anybody like that. And I think that's what we offer each other sometimes, so. Right.
Yeah. Good role models as examples of who can do it. Yeah. Awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, I want to open it up to the group to see if there's any questions that the group has for Deborah while we have her. And Ben, Betty, Josh, Carla, do you guys have any additional questions?
Thanks, Deborah. That was great. Really good, solid, interesting way to sum everything up. So that's really informative. My only question is there a way that you've figured out where you can help to alleviate some of the income tax that you would have to? I know it's a cost of doing business, but it tends to be very high with a flip as opposed to buy and hold. People have floated the idea of a C corporation and bring that into a trust, things like that. Way beyond the scope of what I know right now. But is there anything that you suggest looking into, or do you just kind of line item that in your cost of doing your project and move on?
So if I've understood your question correctly, you're asking me if there's any way that I've figured out to keep more of my profit.
Right. I mean, it's such a big chunk, of that sale. You're making a great profit, but then you get a lot of time outstanding, which is fine. But I don't know if there's any way to, I guess, make it more useful for you, or push it down the road.
I guess what's happened over a period of time is that I have enough projects going on that there's enough going in and out that I can kind of manage that. I can manage the cash flow that way, so that, that my capital gains aren't so outrageous, because I live in one of the highest tax states, right? I'm in California.
Right.
So it's really, I highly advise anybody to pay the extra that you need with a good accountant, because a good accountant is really going to help you to mitigate all of that. Now, I am a real estate professional, and I take every opportunity. I mean, all my buy and holds are, like great depreciating assets. I take every opportunity to take every expense and depreciation that I can with all of those. And then I try to flow things in and out so that, I might be taking big chunks of money, but I'm also putting out big chunks of money, and they're mitigating each other. It'll all catch up to me when I'm dead, but my kids will have to deal with that.
payback.
Gotcha.
Right?
Right. All good. Understand. Well, are there any other questions?
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
I've got
go
one.
ahead, Joshua. Go ahead.
So I would assume at some point you're running multiple flips at one time. So are you pulling from the same certain private money lending sources or hard money lending sources when you're doing that? Or are you to a point now where you're just grabbing from your own stockpile, as it were?
Wow, let's get personal into my finances. I'll tell you.
So I'm at a point, right, where
I'll tell you. So I use a lot of the same hard money lenders that I use pretty consistently. I use my private money lenders, which are people who have been associated with me for years. I have this one woman, she's just turned into her 90s, and she's been investing for me for years. I give her 12%. She calls it her travel money, right? Like, and it is great to have investors like that you can give some, you can give a good profit to, and they're utilizing it for some ways. I try to structure all my deals so that I don't have any money in. And they're all infinite returns. And sometimes I'll have a little money in if I go over budget. I try to really never go over budget, but that's how I try to structure most of my deals.
Great.
And so as an add-on to that, sorry, when you were first starting out, did you get to a situation where you had, with those hard money or private money lenders, did you find any that were willing to put, say, some of your existing buy and holds up as collateral, vice a down payment or points towards a loan?
No.
No?
No. Hard money lenders lend on assets only. A lot of times, even your credit scores won't really matter. They're really evaluating the asset that you're having under contract, and they lend per that asset. They will evaluate your experience. So as I've gotten more experienced, I've gotten better deals with the hard money lenders, because maybe less interest rates, less points, that kind of thing. But when hard money lender evaluates you, they're evaluating on your asset only. And then, as far as private money goes, I didn't start out doing private money. I started out using my own money. So it was like, I would have to come in with the down payment, or I would have to come in with the rehab cost. Because as a beginner, I didn't even understand private money. To be honest with you, as a beginner, the first time I heard of hard money, I was like, is this like the mafia? Like I was oh my God, they're charging me so much. Why would I do this? I'm sorry, I'm from a very blue collar, family, and we didn't do things like this. So it all had to be explained to me. And so I didn't start out using private money at all. In fact, my journey, I flipped, bought a buy and hold, flipped, bought a buy and hold, flipped, bought a buy and hold. And then my debt to income ratio became topsy-turvy, and I realized nobody was going to lend to me. And it wasn't until then that I was like, I've got to find out a different way. Right. And that was the first time I even entertained like using other people's money in my deals. And that whole process and learning to have those conversations with other people and learning to do that was a whole nother learning for me. That's how it went.
Great.
Okay. All right, Carla, I see that you have your video on. Did you have a question?
Yeah, actually I do. My question is, actually, I come from the industry. I used to be I am an interior designer for 6 years. So I understand the part of like the remodeling and all that part very well, and the materials and the cost and everything. Now this year is my first year as a real estate agent, and I'm working with a few investors already. So I'm trying to learn how they think, learn what they actually want, and learn all the aspects. I'm working with 3 investors, and it's not that easy to find the perfect deal for them. So I'm just it's a mission. So I'm just trying to like really learn all the insides. If you have any tips from the real estate aspect as an agent, that you can recommend so I can like be the best agent they need?
I do have a tip. So in my talk, I talked about that rehab sheet, right? So you really need to learn what the investor spread, what the spread the investor is looking for. And you know, to do that, you need to sit with the investor. Now, when I've used agents in the past, I sat down with my agents and I showed them my spreadsheet and I showed them like what kind of spread I was looking for. Because I mean, otherwise, and maybe you've experienced this, you end up bringing them project after project and each project doesn't work, right? Because the spread's not right. So you have to really have them educate you on what it is they're looking for and what kind of spread they're looking for, so that you know what projects to bring to them. And also know that you're going to put out a lot of offers that aren't going to get accepted, because as a flipper, I mean, our whole model is to buy things for under market value, right? So, you know, we're looking for the deals and we're, you know, adding tremendous value to them, but we're needing to come in at a low price. So I really suggest you have that kind of conversation with whatever investor you're working for, so that you're really clear on what you're sending to them.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, awesome talk. Thank you so much, Deborah. Really appreciate it, and glad we were had all the questions answered and everything. And I just wanted to say that so our next in-person meet and greet is going to be February 22nd at Wegmans in Central Park in Fredericksburg, and then our next educational meeting online is going to be March 14th. So look forward to seeing you there. And Deborah, thank you so much again. And send me those links and the attachment, and I will get those out with the recording tomorrow. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much, Anna. Thank you so much, Rick. It was really
Thank you, Deborah.
guys. Thanks.
Awesome
Thank you
job.
so much. Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.